Good morning, Gerry. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dan. I'm glad to be here.
Of course, you've just come off the stage from the opening keynote speech of the day. I don't think it gets more high profile than the man behind the whole of the procurement for the Olympics. So, obviously a massive challenge. You invented new systems to make the whole thing come together, and it's quite a unique project. But there's a lot of ground to cover, perhaps if we simply start with the system itself.
Sure, well, it was a massive effort, but of course, like anything in life, it's really the team that you have working with you, and I was very, very lucky to have a fantastic team behind me, so I think that's what really made everything so successful, so working with great people, whether within procurement or indeed in the other functional areas. I think in terms of the system, what we had to do was very quickly put in a system that was going to work for us that didn't have a long life cycle, because bear in mind that in 2012 we closed down on the Olympics, so therefore a system really was for a short term. We put in a very robust procurement process and system using some bespoke software, and it worked incredibly well. We used CompeteFor as our portal. And again, that has been a tremendous success. So we're delighted with the process and procedures that we put in place.
So what were some of the hardest challenges to get over? I mean, obviously the timelines is going to be one, but well, yes, what were the biggest challenges beyond that?
Well, I think the biggest challenge you have is the complexity of the range of different products and services you're trying to procure. Secondly, you do start from a zero supply base, so normally in a situation you go into an organization, there is an existing supply base. We didn't have one, so we had to create one from scratch, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge. I think the other big challenge is the range of stakeholders that you need to interact with, because it's not just your supply base, there are lots of bodies who are interested in what you're doing, whether they be looking after sustainability, diversity and inclusion, governmental bodies, the regional bodies, the national bodies, you name it, a lot of people looking at what you're doing, and it's of course the International Olympic Committee and the International Paralympic Committee, so a massive range of stakeholders interested in what you're doing.
And not to mention, of course, the audience themselves that see the results of the fruits of your labour. But you were talking about zero supply base. Starting from that point must have also been a fantastic opportunity, because it gave you a chance to do, I think, what most procurement officers would really like to do and never get the opportunity to do, which is start from scratch and really say, right, what would be our perfect model? What, if we could do anything, what can we do? And then go ahead and do that. Was that the case?
Indeed, and it does work that way, because for so many things we were starting from scratch. So we had the CompeteFor system where we would post our opportunities to an audience of 160,000 disparate suppliers, and then those who were interested in that particular category would then register an interest. We would then look through those suppliers and look at what they did, and then streamline down to a smaller base. But we had the luxury of having a massive supply base initially interested in what we were doing. And of course what that does for the buyer is it drives phenomenal competition. So we had amazing competition levels for all of the products and services that we were sourcing.
And talking of those competition levels, I know we were talking about one particular supplier that was quite a surprising choice before, and it did seem like it gave you an opportunity to see and work with businesses that it wasn't just about the price, it wasn't just about who can deliver. It also had an element of creativity to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we were looking for suppliers who could give us maximum value, but we were very clear in terms of maximum value, it wasn't just about price. And as we showed on the screen earlier on, we looked at the sustainability aspects, the innovation aspects, our ability to dispose of the product at the end of the games. So for example, rather than buying things, we would rent things or lease things so that the product had a use after the games. But right the way through, I mentioned innovation, supplier stability at a very important time, at a very difficult time in the economy, supplier stability, so looking at that. So a massive range of things that we were looking for, and it didn't mean, well, it certainly for us was very clear that in some instances actually the smaller suppliers could actually offer us greater advantage in a number of those areas.
Which I think is a fantastically positive thing for a lot of people right now. But one of the things that Boris Johnson came out with time and time again, particularly around the closing ceremony and the weeks after that, it was of course the Olympic legacy and the fact that whilst this is a self-contained unit, it cannot live in a bubble. What about the procurement operation has been part of that legacy?
Well, I think firstly, if you look at CompeteFor, what we did with CompeteFor, I think you can use CompeteFor as a legacy. That's point one. I think another legacy is the way that we've taken a significant group of suppliers through a very rigorous procurement process, and I would say all of those suppliers who won business at London put themselves in a tremendous position to win business elsewhere, because they've made themselves much fitter commercially, I would say, and they will be able to take their upper opportunities, for example, Glasgow, Sochi, Rio, so into the events industry, but not just to the events industry. I think what we've taken them through is a process that will make them fitter to do business in many other industries, and I hope that that will be a legacy of the Games. And also for small companies who've seen that they can actually win business with big companies, I think that will provide a lot of motivation to smaller businesses to think, hey, we may not have won at London, but you know what, we've seen others who did, we can do that, and we will be inspired to go and chase business elsewhere.
And on that very inspiring note, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us. Congratulations once again on a superb event, particularly as a Londoner. Thank you once more, and best of luck for the future.
Thanks, Dan. Good to talk to you.